Some doctors are prescribing it. It's kind of hard to get. You want the atomizer because you want it to have the mist, but you can't always get it, so that it's hard. That it has to be refrigerated, so some of that can be difficult.
They don't have anything like for anaphylactic shock where you can just...
You know, they were working on that, a rapid acting medication, Rampart. They were doing a whole study, and I was hearing that the studies were sounding good. University of Maryland was doing it, and that was like about 6-7 years ago, and then all of a sudden it has just fallen off the charts. I hear no more talk about it when I go to the conference I go to, and then the doctors. I just did a training in Harford County with one of the nurses from Hopkins, and it was all on the emergency medications because we were training the Harford County school nurses. So, you know, she was showing them because they would be administering it in schools. And nothing is even mentioned about the intramuscular, which...
It seems so much easier than the other things.
You would think, yeah.
So what is the medicine supposed to do? What does it do? Does it...
It's these emergency medications,
Yeah,
they stop the seizure.
Well, I know, but, okay, it's actually going... The brain is something that tells the electricity to stop? Or
Yeah,
is it
well,
making the body, the muscles relax? Is it making, what is it doing?
It's vacuum.
It's like that. Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's making the body go. Right.
Gotcha.
That's what it's doing. Yeah. You know, very heavy dosage of it to stop the seizure.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For years, it used to be just IV. I mean, in emergency, the trained medical professionals who can do the IVs, they'll use the medication in an IV format. But these are just other formats that have been developed that parents can have on hand.
I've seen some parent here have the oil.
Have the oil.
Yeah.
That they can use, yeah. Okay. So there are times you can call 911, but that's like you all determine in your policies. If for some reason you end up with a family member, a friend or something that has epilepsy and you just want to know, I won't go over them, but they're on the sheet. You all can keep your sheet here, so when we would call 911. Okay. All right. There are things that can bring seizures on in individuals that have epilepsy. We call them seizure triggers. And so these are things to be aware of, and I think we did discuss with the mother that it is good if the parents will keep you all in the loop if maybe they know something's happening that seizure triggers, you know, the child is going to be more prone to having a seizure. And the first thing be mismedication. If they forgot to take their medicine. The good news about epilepsy is when I said how many people have it, you know, that's a lot of people, and you think, well, how come I'm not seeing seizures everywhere I go if that many people have it? 50% of the people who have epilepsy take medication. Those medications control their seizures. So they're living normal lives just like everyone else. So you probably know people that have it. You just don't know they have it. They take their medicine and it's just, you know, something personal to themselves, and so they're not having seizures. But if they miss their medicine, because the medicine doesn't cure it, it just controls it. So they have to keep it in their system. Okay. So mismedication is, if they've missed their medicine, they can possibly be prone to having a seizure. Stress and anxiety, if they're under stress, if you see that. A lot of people in our support group complain that's like the number one seizure trigger for them. Mismedication is number one, but you know, other than that, stress. When they feel under stress, a lot of times seizures will come up. Hormonal changes, lack of sleep, extreme fatigue, anything that weakens the body like that. Drug and alcohol, drug interactions, even maybe over-counter medications for colds or something like that, if it interacts, could possibly bring seizures on because it could reduce the effectiveness of the seizure medication they're taking. Dehydration, very important to keep people hydrated, and photosensitivity. Now, when I was talking about 1 in 10 people could have a seizure at some point in their life, some of these items can bring a seizure on in a person that doesn't have epilepsy. You know, severe dehydration could make a person have a seizure, but if that's the only time it happened, then it's not epilepsy. It would be like a one-time type thing. And then photosensitivity, which is the flashing lights. And I'm sure some of you have heard about the flashing lights. Misconception is not everybody with epilepsy is photosensitive. It's kind of like, oh, you can't be a flashing light to have epilepsy. It doesn't affect everybody, but for some it does. And that's where you see those warnings on the game systems and all that. So they're just things you're aware of if you're working with somebody. And it's kind of good to know their triggers. Everybody has different triggers. One of the gentlemen in our support group, McDonald's hamburgers, our trigger for him. He said he could eat like a Burger King hamburger, but he can't eat a McDonald's hamburger, and he thinks it's something within the attic, maybe one of their, something they put in. He goes, not that it's good for me anyway, but he would travel with work, and he'd find that whenever he had a, it's like, wow. So he doesn't eat McDonald's hamburgers anymore. Next thing about how it's diagnosed, we don't need to get into that. Documenting seizures is important, and if someone here has a seizure, I would imagine you probably do have to document any incident that occurs anyway. And then that's very helpful, though, also in the treatment process for the parent to share with the physician. Many times the physician doesn't see the seizure, so they have to depend on the observations of people that have to know what's going on. Also, maybe somebody has been taking the same medication, and I think that was the young man here had been on medication and pretty controlled. He was changing medications. Things like that are going on, and it could be maybe not even if they're changing medications, but if they've grown, maybe they've had a growth spurt, the medication isn't working as well, we're seeing more seizure activity all of a sudden. And some people are never completely controlled, but they know they have a seizure every couple of weeks. Well, all of a sudden they're having a seizure maybe once a week. Something's changing, and that's documenting helps you determine that kind of thing. Okay, and then also the other thing, documenting seizures helps to determine if there's a trigger. That what was happening when the seizure occurred. Wow, it was really hot. It was really, really hot the day Sam had the seizure. And then Sam had a seizure again 3 weeks later, and that was one of those really, really hot days. Well, overheating is a trigger for Sam then. So you think of those kind of things as well. Okay. That's just, I think you have what influences doctors. I'm not going to go over that with you guys. As I said, types of treatment, medication, there is surgery. There is other treatments like diets, vagus nerve stimulation, which is a device. If you ever have a child with a vagus nerve stimulator, you won't see the stimulator. It is the battery stimulator is actually implanted underneath the chest wall. It has a wire that attaches to a vagal nerve that goes up the back of the neck. But they may carry a magnet with them. If they feel a seizure coming on, they can swipe the magnet, and it can help stop the seizure. So that's just another thing that could possibly be something you might see. And then lifestyle modifications can help too. Getting enough sleep, not drinking, not doing drugs, keeping your body as healthy as possible can help with seizure. It's a misconception. You can't be super healthy and your seizures go away, but it will just, help prevent you from having them with the other things. So I just try to kind of keep it general, go through and go watch the movie so you get to see what the seizures are. I think it's only like maybe 12 minutes. I'll slide around so you don't have to look at my face on the screen. Did we lose it?
I think the light should come back.
Does anybody have any questions while we're bringing the movie up? I did a good job of explaining, huh?
The first seizure I had was in 8th grade, taking a spelling test. That can happen anywhere. I've been in supermarkets, I've been at home, I've been in swimming pools.
I have grand mal and petit mal seizures.
Some people look at me as if I was slow. I take the same pills every morning and night. I just wish that they would treat her as she was normal, like if she didn't have a disability, because she's a happy baby and she's beautiful, and other than having epilepsy, she's a normal baby. I have people treat me like I'm a little kid. My name is Janice and I have epilepsy. My name is Red and I have epilepsy. My name is Regina and I have epilepsy.
I'm Sherry.
I'm Clay.
I'm John.
And I have epilepsy.
Now they're going to show you a couple more kinds of
About
seizures than I
2.5
talked
million
about.
Americans have epilepsy. It affects people of all ages and all races. Treatment helps most live active, productive lives, but others have more problems. Epilepsy is a neurological condition. It causes sudden, brief changes in how brain cells work. If the brain isn't working properly, it can cause seizures, and seizures can affect just about anything you feel and do.
It's like preparing for the hurricane that's going to come your way and go through your body.
I've tore the muscle, busted my lip, cut my head open. All the good stuff.
When I get a seizure, I start, usually my hands shake or my legs, and I just tremble.
The kind of seizure you have depends on how much of your brain is affected by the electrical disturbance. Your brain acts like a computer, directing the body by sending tiny electrical signals between neurons or brain cells. They switch on and off millions of times a day, but sometimes the neurons fire inappropriately, and that causes seizures. There are basically two kinds of seizures, generalized and partial. Generalized seizures happen when the electrical disturbance swamps the whole brain at once.
The seizures make me fall or jerk.
When I wake up after having a grand mal seizure, I come to, I would either be lying on the floor or in the bed.
I'm very lethargic. I wake up groggy, I have a headache, and parts of my muscles really hurt.
Other types of generalized seizures include atonic seizures. They're often called drop attacks because they cause sudden falls. On the other hand, myoclonic seizures produce jerks that can affect part or all of the body. Some generalized seizures look more like daydreaming or blank staring. These are called absence or petit mal seizures.
Her eyes will start to flutter, and at times her head will bob, and she'll become she'll become still for that moment, for 3 to 5 seconds.
I space out for 5 or 10 seconds and forget what I'm doing.
Partial seizures have different effects. They can happen when an electrical disturbance begins in just one part of the brain. For example, simple partial seizures can cause changes in sensations, vision and sound, movement, or even feeling, depending on which part of the brain is affected. Simple partial seizures do not affect awareness.
I do a feeling of fear that comes over me, and a feeling of deja vu or something that's happened in the past, and it just kind of makes me sick in my stomach.
Complex partial seizures, on the other hand, affect awareness and may also cause abnormal body movements and shaking. Someone having a partial seizure may look like they are in a trance, and they may say or do things that seem out of place and mechanical. They won't be able to respond to other people during the seizure and probably won't remember what happened during the seizure.
Kevin? 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 Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sometimes people will get a warning that a seizure is about to begin. They may get a feeling or fear or an odd smell or taste. This sensation is called an aura. Some people may have more than one kind of seizure, while others have only one kind. Each person with epilepsy is unique and experiences epilepsy differently.
Some people have some very strange ideas about seizures and epilepsy. So the more people talk about it, the more others will learn and be more understanding.
I don't think I'm
We can,
different.
I was going to say, we
I've
can
had
stop it here because then it
experience,
just
life
reviews what I
experience.
talked
I play
about the
music, I taught
treatments.
school.
Unless you want to watch the rest of it. It's-
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Okay.
That's great.
What I wanted you to see was the
Yeah.
different seizures. And I know the two that I didn't talk a whole lot about, that atonic seizure, which is the drop attack where the young boy was walking across. What happens with that is they just lose total muscle tone. But it's a very quick recovery with that one. It is generalized seizure. It affects they're like down, but then they're quick recovery back. Now, they can happen in clusters, that type of seizure.
So if you were
Sometimes
on a horse and that happened, you would just totally,
you would, yeah,
like,
you just kind
your
of,
head might flop into the neck of the horse or something.
you can just, yeah, go, yeah, they just lose like all muscle tone, so you could just, yeah, go down. But, and then, but they normally, kind of like the absent seizure, they normally come out of that quickly, you know, as far as the consciousness goes with that. And then the myoclonic seizure was the little girl on the sofa, and that's the jerking, which myoclonic jerks is something actually almost all of us get at night. You hear myoclonics, it can happen at night. You're sleeping and you get that little jerk, you feel like your body kind of jerk. In sleep, it's very normal, but when you're awake, it's more, you know, it's a seizure, then it's something that we're concerned of. So, any questions for me? Yeah.
I have a question. Specifically with tonic-clonic seizures, is there any association with an increased blood pressure that might lead to something like a stroke that we would need to call 911 for? Is that something that's common?
No, that it's not common.
But it does happen.
Okay. Well, and not necessarily the blood pressure.
Okay.
There is a condition called SUDEP, unexplained death in epilepsy patients. It doesn't happen often. It's, you know, like 1 in 1,000 deaths that are from epilepsy would be a SUDEP. The sad thing is we've just had 2 cases in Harford County of high school students within this last year. But many times it occurs when they've happened at night, no one was around, so they didn't really see what occurred. But it is something that can occur. It's something that kind of has always been out there on the outskirts, but more and more families that have lost it. And I think now also with the whole internet and the social media age, and people can interact with each other from all different parts of the country and actually world. Families that have lost someone have kind of been like, why weren't we told about this? Why don't we know? Because the doctors won't talk about it. And one main thing being, there's nothing that really could be done to stop it, because nobody really knows exactly why it occurs. And so it's a little hard for a doctor to say, oh, well then, you know, well, what can we do to keep that from happening? I don't know, you know, type thing. But it's not something to really be worried about, because it's not real common. If that, you know, but since you asked, I feel like I have to say that is something. What they're looking at in studies with it now, they've actually even started a whole SUDEP Institute, which is not actually a place, it's more of a gathering of different partnerships and stuff. And they're researching to see there's some theories that during a seizure and everything is tightening and it's as if they're being choked because they're not breathing properly during a seizure. And for some people, it doesn't release that like choking effect fast enough when the seizure ends. Others, it's that it's done something in the heart and it keeps the heart from restarting again when the seizure occurs. But they still don't know exactly. You know, they've got all kinds of mice. They have all kinds of things happening with studies going on this right now.
Would that be an instance where an AED would be helpful?
Well, if an AED that would be helpful if the heart has stopped.
Right.
Then you would treat it that's what has happened. So in the seizure first aid, if the seizure ends and they are not regaining consciousness, they are not breathing, their heart is not beating, then you treat that as if you have an emergency of a stopped heart. Yeah. So, does that answer your question? Okay. Right, probably a little more information.
Yeah, no,
actually.
that's helpful to know.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm just curious, what are most of the schools' policies on calling in? Do they always call 911?
If it's over 5 minutes.
It's over 5 minutes.
Yeah. That's what most of them are. Yeah.
If we were to listen to the parents, do you have any sense of legally whether, I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, you are responsible for.
I don't know the answer to that, I'm just curious.
You know, I couldn't tell you 100%, and of course with the law, it seems like they can turn around and change that. But I would think common sense wise, if the parent has made the decision, it should be off your shoulders. But, I mean, I couldn't say that definitely. I don't know, sorry.
I think it'd be good to have a written policy of those things, schools. I think it'd be good to have a written policy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, that kind of makes it.
Unlikely that we're gonna see it, hopefully, but we could, you know.
Now, the schools, when I say they call 911, but parents can refuse transport. They can,
Oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
yeah.
that point, they're in charge of it,
Mhm.
right? Because
Yeah.
you've done what you could do.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have a
Maybe we
question, I'm sorry.
Can we just get a copy of, do you have a copy of the schools, or should we contact the schools and get one? We can get one from Anne Arundel, I
sure.
guess.
Yeah, I would, yeah, because each school has their own
Yeah,
policy,
we'll get one
but
from Anne Arundel schools.
they tend to be around the same.
I have a question about the medication. It's wonderful that they can control seizures so well, but are there any side effects that we
Yes.
should know about? Like particularly like Lamictal, I know can have side effects for like the skin sometimes when we're out in the elements. Is there any other side effects that we should know about as we're reviewing?
Keppra is one that can tend to make people aggressive and, affect mood swings and that type of thing. Those, as far as,
This is like daily medication, not,
Right.
not.
The daily,
Yeah.
that way when we're reviewing what,
Yeah.
in the paperwork, they list what kind of medicines they're on. It would
Yeah,
be
that's
helpful
good.
to know what
Right.
potential behaviors, or like, I know Lamictal in sunlight can be a problem.
yeah.
So,
What I would suggest, because there are so many different medications now for epilepsy, on the epilepsy.com website, there should be a chart that has the medications with all the side effects. But I will also email you one. Let me make a note to do that, because I know I have them. I think it's available on their website to the general public, but I'm not positive, so I'll email you a chart.
thanks, that'd be helpful.
Medication chart. Yeah, and it like lists all the different medications, and then it lists, your normal dosage, what it looks like, and then the side effects that can occur.
Thank you.
And side effects can be something that can be
Different for
an
each
issue.
individual, but.
And really an issue for some. That may be why the medication might be working while controlling the seizures, but the side effects are causing issues, so there could be, changes going on. Okay. Any other questions?
I guess just the video that you showed us, is that available online?
That one is not. But there is one, I think it's just called First Aid for Seizures.
Oh, okay, great.
There's multiple ones. Now, they're not easy. The way they have their website set up, it's like you think, why did they set up this way? Because I find it not that easy to find things. But if you go on to epilepsy.com and then I think it's Learn. It's so many clicks. You gotta keep on clicking. Yeah, so I'm trying to picture in my mind. They have one of their tabs across the top. They have like Help, Connect, Learn, something else. I think it's Learn.
Okay.
There's Multimedia is one of their selections.
Great.
And then you go into there, and then they have all different types of multimedia they have on there, and one of them are videos. And then I normally just search for whatever I'm looking for. Like you can put First Aid, that type of thing. I know they do have the First Aid one, the training that's available for police officers, that video is available online. The training that's available for schools, that video's available online. But this is actually a little bit of an older one. But I like the video footage the seizure footage on this one, because the seizure first aid one doesn't, they don't show you the tonic, they don't show you the myoclonic, they only pretty much do the tonic, clonic, and the complex partial, are the ones they really center on. Yeah. There's different videos we use for different things, but I thought this one would be good to give you guys a view of the different seizures. Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and if I didn't say, epilepsy.com is the website.
Okay.
I can't remember if I said that or
Yes,
not,
you did.
because it's very easy.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
That was
Thank you,
really
Mary.
great.
Okay, well, good.
And I think we're gonna have a new policy.
Yeah, and did you send me your forms that
Yes.
you get the doctor? Okay, I
Yes,
have to
I did,
go
yeah.
back. I know after I left here, I've been
Yeah, yeah.
running.
Got the deal for you.
And
Nicole, can you push stop?
the, I did,